Welcome, everyone, to What the Fiction. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and I am joined by two amazing people who are going to help me understand why I love Like the Galaxy so much. So first person is Ori. Welcome, Ori.
Hi.
Hi. And you've done so much research for this, so I want to thank you in advance because I'm blown away and I'm super excited.
Yep, no problem. I love the show. I can't wait to just share with everyone.
And the next person is my fellow drama lover, Kit. Welcome, Kit.
Hey, hi, everyone.
And we've been kind of like mutuals on Twitter for so long because we were both into Tale of the Nine Tails.
No,
when I was covering it, or was it before that? Okay.
Before that.
Yeah.
Way before that. I think from the Raylo.
Oh, Raylo fandom. Well, we're all Raylos, so that
we're
helps
all Raylos,
too. Yeah. And then like when there's a drama that like feels Raylo-ish, it's like people just like go to it.
Yeah.
It's, like we were all F4 people too. That was great. That was fun.
That was crazy. That was super really crazy.
And I wasn't even going to watch that show, and then it happened. And I was like, wow.
It was great. And now, like, I have put a call out to be like, who's in this? And you two answered. And I was like, yes, I've got people to talk to and scream at. Because one of my favorite dramas is Story of Minglan, which I have watched 4 times. It is not a small drama.
No.
70 plus episodes. And when I found out that the author of Story of Minglan was also the original author of the book that this is based on, I freaked out. And I think I tweeted something like, this show is about to become my whole personality. And I have not been disappointed. And Ori's threads and just people talking about it has brought me so much joy. So when I am experiencing joy, I have to talk about it in a podcast form.
I understand you. Absolutely.
Why is this one of your favorite things, Ori?
Well, there's a lot of reasons, but I think just the fact that there's various characters and they're all very interesting. I feel like the main character girl is not just like someone who is just, I need to fight and I need to like be strong. I don't need a man. Like she's like, she slowly accepts her feelings and she like become a whole person. And that to me is like very rewarding. And then of course, it's just a really good adoption so far. Like they made so many great choices and that doesn't always happen in C-drama if you watch enough C-drama.
Yeah. And you never know how it's going to end because they could run out of money. That's something we're going to go into in a second. A little bit about the pitfalls, especially if this is maybe one of your first C-dramas or you're not particularly familiar with the C-drama industry. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well as the adaptation in general. How is it working for you, Kit?
Well, this C-drama is very, very different to the other ones. First, the main lead is very different than the other ones. I was expecting another Gu from Minglan.
Sort of overly confident,
rash, this kind of guy,
stubborn.
And he knows where to, go and do the things and all that. Everything is planned in Gu's life. But with this guy, I'm lost. I'm completely lost. He's like a wolf. He's, oh my God. And the puppy eyes.
Yeah.
Puppy eyes are my, I'm in love. I'm in love.
I think I knew I was obsessed when I randomly tweeted out, I'm going to take a screenshot of every time he makes this dumb face. Because I don't know, the actor, if he like has something that he thinks about whenever he has to make this face, because it is so consistent and it starts with his eyes and occasionally goes to his mouth where he smiles. Sometimes it doesn't. His eyes say, I love you.
Yes.
Like with heart eyes. I don't know how he does it. And It's entirely like he has an idea of the world. And this is why I'm obsessed with it. 2 reasons. He has an idea of the world, and she has shattered his idea of the world and continues to. He's like, I'm going in one particular direction, and she gets in the way. And so he has to like, he has now started to slowly bring her into his vision of the world. And you see that slowly develop over time. And because the drama is so long, you get those moments, those small micro moments based on his changing. And for her, she feels real. And I don't know how to say that in any other way other than she just feels like a real person. Sometimes, especially when you kind of view women from a archetypical perspective, they don't feel real. But she is messy. She's illiterate. She's selfish in some ways, but yet also cares about those who have helped her and she loves. And so like she feels like this interesting balance between like what all of us are. We have a mix of selfishness and selflessness in ourselves, and we see that presented as a whole person on screen. And it's so refreshing.
Yeah, the thing is that she's not perfect.
No. She's messy. Messy as all hell. And the fact that he loves her as a messy person is so good. He loves her messy bits.
Maybe because she's different?
Yeah.
I think part of it, though, is because he's also internally very messy. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that too.
And I think he recognized some of that messiness. And we can talk a little bit more about it later. But yeah, I have a few thoughts about why he likes her.
Oh, yes, please.
All right. So let's go into C-dramas in general, because I think it's important to kind of set the stage of like what this is all about. Because some people who might, this might be old hat for a lot of people who are listening, or it might be something that people are just not aware of. Dramas in China have to sort of adhere to a code to even come out to the populace. They have to be made in a particular way. They have to adhere to certain cultural authority, ways of showing what is important. And they are sort of judged on an ongoing basis until they come out. And the biggest change for me in recent memory was Go-Go Squid changing it from an e-sports show to a we're doing hacking, but like for the government or like cybersecurity.
Yeah, it was weird.
And they actually like you can actually see them like saying the different words with their mouths, but like that's changed in the dub. And that was extreme for me. But this is an example of a show that during the period of time, it is based in a historical point in time. And so it ends up kind of feeling a little bit modern and also historical at the time. Like Story of Minglan is specifically set during like a change of dynasties.
Yeah.
Whereas as this one, I don't know if it's set during a specific time.
I want to clarify on that part.
Sure.
This story is not set in any real dynasty. So the dynasty, the setting, it's a made up one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a fantasy land, right? Like not a real place.
That's right. It is kind of like there are like some historical shadows that you can see. For example, this is probably if the closest time you can think of is probably like early Han, because that was the time when they slowly come out of like years and years of like constant wars.
Mm-hmm.
So we can kind of draw parallels with that. But the author had said multiple times throughout her novels that this is a complete made up timeline. And actually, one of the rules, newer rules that's been made, is that you cannot show real historical timeline without being actually accurate. So anything like the story we're like watching right now, that cannot happen in like a real dynasty in a C drama at the moment.
Yeah, but I have a question about this. They had this problem that we will talk about with the costumes. So if this thing is not a real historical time, why they had problems with the customs?
That one is another newer policies, and it has nothing to do with like historical timeline. It has everything to do with the fact that they want people who are watching the show, which can be a lot of kids, right? A lot of kids in China actually grow up basically watching TV because their parents might be working 3 cities away and they only see them, during the holidays. So they grow up like all they get is like the TV and school, right? And so the government is like wanting them to appreciate the historical Chinese culture.
So it has to feel historical and Chinese, but not necessarily
not the real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't want them to have the idea that, people in the past used to dress like this. They want to be like, no, like we should be proud of our culture. And so that's why they started having this new rule that said all the costume needs to be like, look ethnically Chinese, and should not have too much Korean, Japanese, and other areas like influence, unless you're talking about, let's say, someone who just traveled from Korea to like do something, or like
and then the character itself can be like Japanese or Korean or something else.
That's right. It's just that if you have a Chinese character, they want them to dress a certain way, talk a certain way. This is like actually pretty new policy. One of the recent shows actually got completely taken offline because they felt that the costumes was way too Japanese. And it's the same case in this one. I almost could not show this, but what they did was, because it was just mostly the bow and the belts, they were able to like digitally edit out every single bows and like change the belts essentially, or just cut out certain parts of the scene.
I am literally making like the biggest like shocked face that they like digitally edited out bows and belts.
They did, yeah. Every single bows and every single time.
The thing is that they have also some color matching things that sometimes they look very, very Japanese too. But thank God they didn't see that. They didn't realize that maybe this thing is also Japanese.
And I think with the colors, you can make some arguments because it's not like we have color photos of like people that,
but you have paintings.
Yeah, you do. So
Kit pulling out her art history experience out of the bag. I do want to say like people kind of assume that like this is very like, I don't know, restrictive and weird for China, but the United States has the exact same rules around anything to do with the US military. If you are involved and using any assets of the US military, the entire script and production has to be approved by the Pentagon.
Wow.
And so people are just not aware that like this is the propaganda-ish thing of China, but the US in some ways is no better.
And I mean, they have the exact same rule in China, I would say, right? Like anytime you show firemen, police officers, army, anything like that, they have to get approval as well. So yeah, same rule.
It is what it is. And so you end up also, there's a lot more rules around like that have been implemented in the last 6 months that I've been paying attention to. Like you can no longer have effeminate men, things like that.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot more like of those rules that have been put in.
No boy love.
No boy love,
And boy love shows. That's why a lot of
they are
already
good friends.
Boy love shows, they're all not actually shown so far.
Yeah. So the rules have changed a lot in the last 6 months, and I don't know what the next rule will be, but it ends up kind of creating these weird restrictions around the shows. And so when they still end up being really emotionally satisfying, it's almost like the restrictions help make the core of the show more clean. It's the weirdest thing I've seen is that like when you give a production so many restrictions, it ends up like becoming better. The thing is,
if they're a good production.
If they're good.
Team, I would
because
say.
yeah. But like but you have
to...
seen bad I've seen bad C-dramas. You've seen bad C-dramas.
Yeah. The more epic, more bad.
Yeah. And then also like there are some kind of production related things that can happen. Sometimes these are still being filmed as they're releasing.
Oh yes.
It's less likely in C-dramas, I think, because they have to like go through approval, but K-dramas especially are really prone to this. And so what happens when you're still filming something as you're producing it? Online conversations count towards what people view it as in the production. And then people run out of money.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. With C-drama, you don't usually see that, like you said, because of the censorship. But the challenge of C-dramas, you never know if like something that's in film can ever be shown and when it can be shown. So originally, the show actually was supposed to be shown, I think, later. I heard rumors it should be in August or like even winter holidays. But because the show that was supposed to start being shown at this slot didn't pass censorship, they actually had to push up everything. And so the production team actually still editing a lot of the later episodes.
And that would be for the part 2.
That's right, yeah.
And so why is this production split into 2 parts? I think that's also important to talk about.
Yep. And that has to do with policies again.
Yeah.
There are now new rules around shows that are historical shows that are over 40 episodes, I believe. Don't quote me on that number. It could be a little bit off. But essentially, because the show has over 50 episodes, the only way they can bypass those new rules is by cutting it into 2 pieces and calling it 2 different shows.
Yes. And so it's going to be, I think, 57 episodes.
59?
We will see.
59. Some like who knows? We could end up with more or less, but I think the first part is going to be 27 episodes.
That's right. Yeah.
And then whatever we get in the second part, which will be up to 40.
They haven't been. They actually haven't been like fully announced. The second part, people know it's coming because like advertisement and whatnot did mention the second part and the name, but they never actually mentioned exactly how many episodes there are in the second part or exactly when it's going to be shown. At least not yet.
And the hope is that we will see the second part right after the first part, but there might be a little bit of a gap. So that's important to pay attention to too.
But
because they are still editing the second part or the first?
Second part. They're editing the second part. First part is completely done at this time. But the second part is, I think it's supposed to be airing in August because they are asking for some, they're doing like some advertiser call right now. And they said the show is supposed to run till September. So,
and they usually show 6 episodes a week. So they release 2 episodes a day for 3 days a week. At least that's what they've been doing for the first part.
Yeah. And I would say that this is another weird thing about C-drama. 6 episodes a week is considered too little.
Yeah. Normally they go like at least 10 episodes a week, right?
Yeah. Like it can go up to 10 episodes a week. And fans were like basically going online saying, oh my God, you guys go show more episodes or we're going to stop watching. And then
it's literally us.
Like I had to came in and be like, hey guys, I'm so sorry. We're still working on it. Please be patient. And the fans are like, oh, okay. I guess.
Fine.
Hey, confession time.
Yes.
I watched this drama only in 2 days.
Oh my God, Kit.
16 episodes in 2 days. I didn't sleep.
I mean, it's that good. So
it's that good.
Well, my mom beat you because I told my mom about this show, I think last Saturday. And and I told her around, I think 1:30 or something. She would send a message to me at 10:30 at night. She's like, I finished up to episode 12. And I'm like, what?
I have to say, it's pretty impressive that the the main leads don't actually see each other's faces for 6+ episodes. That's impressive to me because it's still entertaining.
And it's so different.
They do a really good job of showing how their own stories are as important as their combined story.
Yeah. I have some stuff to say about that a little bit later when we talk about the novel and some of the author's note that the persons have. But that's definitely something that's similar to what happened in the novel as well.
Is there anything else you wanted to say about Chinese productions and what we're getting?
Maybe the dubbing.
We dig in? Oh yeah, the dubbing is rare.
Because everybody has problems with the dubbing in Chinese dramas. I know a lot of people that they don't watch Chinese dramas because of the dubbing. And I'm like, hey,
well,
do you know that all these fans that make the, flowing pieces of fabric around you make a lot of noise?
Yeah.
That, and also that because of censorship, they have to overdub a lot of lines. So it just makes more sense to
and the accents. Come on.
Yeah. Well, and that's because they need to have the Shanghai accent, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is that correct?
No, they need a Beijing accent.
Beijing accent. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That's right. Yeah. Unless they are in modern time and that person came from Shanghai or something.
Oh, yeah. And then they can have the other accent, right? Yeah. But I remember finding out about this. I don't know. I was into C-dramas, but really it was Meteor Garden that made me realize the dubbing and hearing Chinese fans specifically be this is horrible. And I was like, it is? I'm confused. But then I saw Ashes of Love and Ashes of Love. They use the main actors to dub over the main
when they do that
voices. It always feels
when they
better.
do that is
And it's the same case for Story of Minglan as well as this drama. They actually did use the actor and actress's real voice to dub over the episodes.
Yeah, and with the exception of kid characters, it's because kids are always played by weird adults who are trying to be kids. It is actually mostly the adults that are playing the actors that are playing the characters, unless it's a rare exception where the person doesn't have the right voice or whatever. But it does make a difference because then the sync is closer, I think, on the lip movement and things like that.
Yeah, it feels a lot more natural. Sometimes you have let's say a 23-year-old actor and then they dub him with someone who's 40 and it just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
In this case, it sounds a lot more natural.
And one of the things, there is a set of 4 actors that are the most popular actors. They're the actors from Eternal Love or 3 Miles, 3 Worlds, 3 Lives, 3 Miles of Peach Blossoms. Yeah. The actor that played Eternal Love. So those 4 main actors who played Fang Jiu, Bai, Donghua, Yiwa, and why can't I think of the main character? Bai Jing? Yeah. Anyways, they are the main voice actors, and so you'll hear them being dubbed over if you get into C-dramas, they're everywhere. You're oh my god, I recognize this voice because when I was watching Blue Whisperer, and I was oh, that's Yua's voice. Yes. It's just it's kind of weirdly comforting too to have that voice actor come back. I don't know. He does stoic very well.
Of course.
Okay, let's dig into the drama. So this is a little bit of spoilers, of course, because we're going to talk about the background. If you're not interested in sort of learning more before you've seen the show, go watch it. Go watch the first couple of episodes because it is so good. So good. You can actually watch it on WeTV or it's on Viki. They're now getting the dubs pretty quick on Viki. So
it's subbed. Yeah, there's no English dub.
Or sorry, subs. Sorry, they're getting the subs ready on Viki pretty quickly. So it's a good place to watch it. Is there any other places it's available?
legal?
For the people in US, they can use Tencent Video, buy a membership, and then actually support the production companies.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dig into this. What does this title mean? It is the weirdest title I've seen.
Yeah. So the Chinese title and the English title is whatever they want to make up, to be very honest. But the Chinese title came from a poem that was written by Cao Cao, who you may have heard from Three Kingdoms. He was one of the kings there back in 207 AD, and this poem was called Guan Chang Hai. And what happened was he was leading his army and happened to be on the top of the mountain and saw this beautiful view of this raging sea. And he was inspired to write this poem. And the poem is very grandiose and it's very romanticized. And it is understood to express his desire to unite the kingdoms, kind of like how the vast ocean is uniting its surrounding. And this specific line that is used in the title describes the sparkling stars within the galaxy. So I think that is why in the English title, they call it Love Like the Galaxy, because the word galaxy is actually mentioned in the Chinese title, but the word love is not.
And so it is sort of to say this is an epic story.
That's right. Kind of shining like the stars. It's beautiful. It's bright. So you get some like imagery from that title.
The actors themselves, I've actually been told by several of my friends that they cannot watch this drama because they saw the main guy in as basically a teenager in previous dramas, and that they cannot unsee him as basically a baby. But they're all very, very famous. Like our main lead, our lady, what's her name? It's
Lucy.
Lucy. Yeah. She's been in stuff since like and has kind of been the hit actress for many years now. I remember seeing her in Romance of
the Tiger,
Tiger and Rose.
And Rose, Tiger and Rose. And like she was so good in that. And then she was like, it felt like she was cast in like 10 dramas a year.
Yeah, so she's an interesting actress because she is in like a ton of shows, but she has a lot of like anti-fans as well, along with fans.
There are people that hate her. Holy hell.
Right, yeah. Like if you read comments, you're going to get like tons of people who said, I hate her, acting and she's can't act. And part of it, I think, has to do with her background. She came from a rich family. It's like a little bit like a Taylor Swift sort of background, right? Her daddy probably helped her a little bit. But I think she actually suits this role really well. So I have absolutely no issue with her being in the show.
I really liked her in Who Rules the World. I felt like that was a stretch role for her. And I liked her in Romance of Tiger and Rose. I saw her in Cooking and Love in the Kitchen. She's done a lot. Like I'm very impressed by her resume. And it's almost like she, like for a while, De La Riba was kind of taking all of the major roles for a while, and now De La Riba's like slowed down. It feels
maybe
like
because she's old.
Does she look old to you?
No,
but you know what happens with this war.
But yeah,
I think, Reba is gonna have to like do a transition from the role she used to do to like roles that suit her age a little bit more. So I think maybe she's in a transition period.
Yeah, that's a point.
And then we have, it's like Liu.
And you can call him Leo. That's the English name for him.
Yeah,
Leo. Yeah. And he's been in a fair amount of stuff too. Again, like he was acting as a teenager. And again, some people are like, I can't watch him because I saw him in this role.
Yeah. I mean, he is in that show with Reba a few years ago. And I think he got really popular from that.
Yeah.
And, since then he's definitely gotten a little older.
Yeah.
And he's definitely, I think, the right age for this role.
Yes. Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I like just listening to him talk about the character, and he understands the internal conflict the character has overall, and it's just really enjoyable just to like listen to him, I don't know, understand that a complex character is not necessarily bad.
He reminds me of Adam Driver
I
talking
agree.
about Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like when he talks about how I think some of the audience may find him a little unhealthy, but I focus on his most vulnerable, like his vulnerability, and I feel very bad for him, right? In a lot of instances. And I thought, you understand the assignment, Leo. You understand.
Yeah. He seems like the type of person that's like the biggest defender, like Adam Driver is of Kylo Ren. He's Leo.
That's right. Yeah, he defends Bowie like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, but the thing is that with this character, we are here for the long run.
Yeah.
If you don't work with these kind of things, sometimes these kind of characters are flavor. If you don't keep this pace and you don't know what is going on behind this kind of mask they wear.
Yeah. Well, we dealt with the same thing with Bright and Tom in
because
F4.
That character is more bombastic.
Yeah.
It's more all the fireworks and all that. And he's hiding behind these fireworks.
Yeah.
Here is more the silent moments.
Yeah.
Than the whole epic.
Like he's wearing a lot more of like a kind of poker face and like a big mask of like.
I call this gravitas in Latin.
Yeah.
That keeps the thing going on, but with this kind of nobility. I don't have the name for this kind of vibe that is more inside than outside.
Yeah.
But we will see the inside at some moment, but no spoilers.
No. It's all going to come out. And I think that we're going to get like much more of that intensity, I think, from the acting.
I mean, you can tell from the trailer, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be getting something.
Yeah. It's just like the fact that he's kind of setting the bar at this very, very contained version of the character in the beginning, where he is very restricted. He restricts himself. That's really important. And then we're going to see how far he goes external, like bringing the internal external, and how he sort of comes to terms with all of that and is able to put things back in the right place. I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, but the thing is that I think the character, not the actor, thinks that he's an animal. He's controlling the animal. It's like when he says the female lead, hey, don't come to the place that they are killing the hostages and all that. And when she appears there, he hides the sword with the blood because he's in his animal state. His feral state. He doesn't want someone else seeing him like that. So he's constrained all the time because he doesn't want to allow this kind of feral animal out.
There's so much animal husband in that, what you just said and how you said that. No, there really is.
He's a wolf.
Oh, yeah. I love when he wears his cloak with the big fur ruff around his neck. The wolf. Yeah, it's good.
I mean, I think that's definitely meant to be, right? Even in the Chinese media, like social media, they have, him as a wolf, one of the male lead as the little puppy, and then one of the male lead as a fox. And I think it's like, makes tons of sense.
That's awesome.
And the other thing I want to point out too is like, that little like sword hiding thing. I didn't think that's actually a drama only thing. So that's part of the thing that I'm like, oh, they're doing it so well. Oh my god.
Well, because they're not only like adapting exactly what's in the novel, they're also taking it and understanding that certain visuals need to be expressed in different ways.
That's right.
Awesome. All right. Ori, can you tell us a little bit about the director?
Yeah. So the director is, and I apologize if my Mandarin is bad because I actually speak Cantonese, is Fei Zhang Xian. And he is an ex-actor turned director who was the apprentice of Guan, who I think is pretty famous. He does a lot of movies. And I think it's an interesting choice for this show because this actor is famous enough that, you know, his name shows up front and center in the trailer, but he's really more famous for actions and adventure. So he directed a few of the Candle in the Tomb series, which is kind of like a Chinese Tomb Raider / Indiana Jones series. So he's like really into realist and he's into kind of grittiness. You see a lot of like the fight scenes, kind of creativeness in the fight scenes. Those all come from him. But he's not known for like romance, right? So it's very interesting to see him directing something that's a lot more emotion-based.
Yeah, and he does these things, which I appreciate because it means that he understands it better than some North American directors.
Oh, yes.
Which should be more commonplace, especially with like romantic high period in Hollywood, but it's not in modern day, which is he spends time with Ling Buya, especially to zoom in on his face as he's feeling stuff and sort of being transformed. And that is spending time with a character as they are experiencing emotions. I actually timed it. It was almost a minute one time where he zooms in on the character's face as he's like seeing her for the first time. And it just stays with those emotions, and we slowly see Leo's face turn from the light, like the lights are on in his eyes, and it slowly moves down to his smile on his face. And that is more than I could have ever asked for. Right? And he does it so often. He stays on this character's face because I think you were going to go into it at some point during talking about the novel. But we don't get the POV of the main guy, the male lead, very often at all in the novel, right?
You do, but definitely not this early in the novel, I would say.
So it is a way to establish his internal motivation and drive and how attached he is. So it doesn't come off as unhinged as it ends up being in both the novel and will probably eventually be in the show. But we understand his motivations a lot more because they've spent time to live and breathe with the emotions of this character. I appreciate it. I'm just like, yay, like slow clap. Thank you. And so many directors I just wish would learn more about the feeling camera and how, especially the looking at characters is really, really important. So if this is truthfully feminine gaze, we get the feeling camera, so we live with the emotions of the characters on screen. We get the gaze, gaze, so we look at the characters through the eyes of the main lead. Mm-hmm. And then we get the gaze return. So at some point in the show, there's this moment where he is shirtless and stabbed with an arrow. And
oh my God.
We've all talked about it, how it felt like the fire scene in The Last Jedi for many of us, because it is the female lead looking at the male lead as a hurt person, but also with desire. And also we get his view of her during that scene. So it is the gaze and it is the gazed, right? So it is the G-A-Z-E.
And the sound.
The sound
of that scene. Amazing.
and like it's incredibly hot.
Yes. Yes.
But that moment itself, I was like, oh, we're dealing with something different here. Something that they understand this. And it's such a slow, careful, intimate scene, even though it's being watched over by his two men and the doctor. Like with adult supervision.
Yeah,
and yet it's intimate.
The room's crowded and they don't care.
It's kind of like that, Pride and Prejudice 2005 scene, right? Where they're dancing and it's technically like everyone is there, but they're in their own world,
Yeah. And so like the understanding of how important that moment is psychologically for both of them, it's almost like sex in some ways.
Oh, yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Because there's a...
It is.
Yeah, like... It's like it has the
MC,
symbolic sex moment.
We have an arrow.
No, I know, an arrow. Yeah, and
if that is not sexual.
Well,
tell me.
It would have meant more if she had actually hurt herself taking it out, because it has the Psyche and Cupid concept.
Wow.
She's removing the arrow from.
Oh yes.
From his left. Or from his but right
the thing,
side.
The point here was the string.
No, I know the string was important.
The string was more important than the, because she's not wounded right now.
No, she's not wounded. No. She will be wounded eventually. That's important.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
But anyway, sorry. I get caught up in mythological and symbolic
may I go
reason.
with some technical stuff?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, this guy was in an amazing film called Farewell, My Concubine. Go and check that film. He was an actor there.
Okay.
He wasn't directing or anything, but I think it's very interesting to understand how this guy films, because that movie is very deep and goes with some kind of stuff that they are not telling you, but is down there.
Showing it.
Yeah, it's something that is going on, but they cannot tell that these two guys are in this kind of relationship because, they are very good friends. Very good friends. That's one thing.
The best of friends.
Yeah.
They're roommates.
Childhood friends. Yeah.
Best bros.
Best bros. Yeah. And the other thing is that they chose this guy because they want to make the whole thing more epic.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they have all these people that watch only romance, and you have all these people that only watch epic stuff. Wuxia. And they want to mix all together. So they need someone that knows how to deal with epic scenes, all these battles and the horse riding, all the plane through the city and all that. But also someone that knows how to film this kind of arrow scene, the female gaze, the male gaze, something that mix everything together.
I think the fact that he was an actor too, that helped. So he, got to be on the other side, right? When he was younger.
Yeah, that too.
He was the romantic interest in some cases, right? So that probably also helped him.
Yeah. And he films some shots is super crazy. He does this kind of sequence. And I don't remember, it was chapter 6, chapter 7, when they are doing the party at the Chen's house.
Yep.
And the scene starts with two kids playing in the patio and moves the camera through the whole building to another patio, to another building. That thing is amazing.
Yeah.
And the other one that I was laughing out loud is when they are inspecting the Burn restaurant.
Yep.
The Lantern Festival, you mean?
Yeah, just after.
After.
You're
just
looking
after.
at it.
Yeah,
looking
they
at
are
the
investigating
lantern.
the Prince Xiao thing, all that. And this guy moves the camera down and makes a zoom in black with a Puyi cape, I think. And that is the typical shot for bad guys going wild or something like that. It's very, very, very specific in films. And I was like, oh my God, this guy is doing this with the main lead?
Well, it's to show like he actually is surrounded by darkness.
That's the thing. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
He understands this kind of character and how they deal with this dark side and light side and all that. And here he is in his dark side. Oh my God. That's so, I recommend everybody go to that specific scene. Super funny. He is filming the guy with a regular shot and all that. And suddenly he moves the camera down. And he's like, what? No. It's because he wants to zoom in this cape and all that, and very, Star Wars thing. Very Star Wars thing. Yeah.
It's extremely Star Wars. There's going to be a scene that I think will be coming up soon that, again, will really show, I think probably like around episode 19 or 20, where I think you will get another view of the dark side.
Yeah, and we're recording this just after 18. We've all seen 18. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah,
we need to wait.
I haven't seen it. None of us have seen it, but it's going to come up. So,
yes, please.
Ori, did you want to talk about the author and the story of Minglan? I'm super fascinated by this because I'm obsessed with this drama.
Yes, I would love to talk about it. Yeah, so the original novel was written by Guanxin Jianluan, who wrote the story of Minglan, like we said earlier. And Story of Minglan was the TV show that was made in 2018. At least it was released in 2018. And that novel actually came around 8 years before she wrote this. This story actually she did not start releasing the story until 2018.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is like, she's like, I think more of a more mature writer by the time she got to this. Her stories are always female lead centric, and a lot of it is kind of on the everyday life of the female lead as she embarks on a journey to adulthood. And she's known to focus on realism and social commentary and a little bit of satire, in my opinion. And I think that sounds familiar to some of you, probably because that's exactly what Jane Austen is famous for, right? Like a lot of that very close up looking at the female lead's life and then the people surrounding her. Like I wouldn't say her stories are quite as polished as some of Jane Austen's stuff when you actually read the novel, but there are a lot of like good ideas, a very interesting like little details that she put into her books, which I think are not there for other authors out there. Mm-hmm. The other thing I want to mention is this person writes web novels. So these are all initially released online, and then if it gets popular enough, it gets published into a book. It's kind of like Martian, how Martian came to be. So the other very interesting thing about this is that the author is actually involved in the script of the show. So
that's so cool.
As they're changing it, it's all still just her. And you can kind of see how much she cares. So it's really, really great.
Yeah, because with the Blue Whisper, they change a lot of things. And I think the novel is better in some parts of the whole thing than the C-drama. All the angst is better in the novel than they did some choices that I didn't like.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's actually pretty common in C-drama adoption. And I think this is what makes this really special, right? It's that this adoption actually do capture the soul of the novel so far. And you see that in other popular adoptions, things like Word of Honor, The Untamed, both of those capture kind of the original feel of the novel, even though it wasn't exactly the same. This one actually follows the novel so far pretty closely. There's like a few things that's been changed, but it's not significant. One more thing that I want... Oh, go ahead.
The thing is that I see a difference between the Minglan vibe and this one. I think she goes darker. It's not Jane Austen. It's more the Bronte sisters. It's more dark. And I see a lot of Thornton in this guy.
That's true. True.
The scene with the look back to me in the snow. Well, it's not the snow. I think it's the cotton flying. But here we have the snow, the guy, and the girl inside, it's the same thing. And I think the shot is very similar. He's at the top of the tower, and I think Thornton is at the top of the... I'm not sure. Top of the stairs. Yeah. He's at the top of the stairs. She's going inside the... Yeah. It's something like that, but very, 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 very similar. Yeah. I see a lot of Thornton there.
I think that's true. And I think that's also reflected in some of the author's notes that the author have left in throughout her book. So one of the things she said is that she made sure to make Xiaoshan's background to be fairly normal. Other than the fact that she was left behind for 15 years due to the war, her family dynamic is normal family dynamics. You have a mom and dad who generally get along with each other, siblings who love each other, not a crazy amount of family drama. Except
they cut out all that drama very quickly.
That's right. They just snip, snip, snip. And then, you have a grandma who is kind of annoying, but that's normal. We have a lot of grandparents who may not believe in the same thing as us, right? So so what the only true driving force of the complex plot comes completely from the male lead. And if the female lead has not met the male lead, which is, I think, also the case in some of the Bronte stuff, their life would be pretty normal. They would probably find someone nice, maybe get married, and then, they would have a very peaceful and quiet life, right? But because they have met the male lead and because the male lead have some issues, their life is now much more exciting.
Well, the female lead talks about this thing, right? With her best friend, I think.
Chi-Chi?
Yeah, they are inside her bedroom, and they
who will be our hero? And she's like, I don't want a hero. I just want a normal guy.
Yeah.
It's really great kind of foreshadowing. Oh yeah, our male lead is not a normal guy. And that leads to another very interesting point that the author wrote down in chapter 1. This is before the chapter 1. She wrote a few notes that said, must read this before you read the rest, right? And she said, just like in murder mysteries where the author don't tell you who the murderer is, I won't tell you who the male lead is. This story is centered around the female lead, and anyone who shows up in the story are just people around her in her life. And that, I think, informs the pacing of the story, right? It sets the expectation. If you're purely viewing this as a cute drama or a dark drama, you'll find the pacing kind of awkward because it's slow in the beginning. The main character, the male lead, Bui, doesn't even show it, they don't even meet face to face until chapter 34 in the book.
Yeah.
Right? That's a long time to read, right? Before you get to even them looking at each other. And most of the big crazy plot lines that comes later, it doesn't really start until book 3. So they have 5 books. You have to view the show and view the book as a story about her and her growing up. And if you view it that way, the pacing is actually quite good because it starts off with explaining why she's the way she is. It shows her first love, what she originally wanted from her life or what she thought she wanted from her life. And then it slowly brings in all the drama that the male lead comes with. and it goes on that way, right? So that's really interesting. The other note she left was that this is a happy ending. This will have a happy ending.
Yes, I need more of that. I need more of that in shows where they're like, by the way, we won't just kill everybody off by the end. Sorry. Just patience, right?
That's right. She actually mentioned this author's note, every single time something horrible happens.
It's going to be okay.
Happy ending, guys. Happy ending. FYI. And she also mentioned the story is slow burn, which
Yeah.
I mean makes sense. You can kind of tell even from just 18 episodes that this is pretty slow burn, right? Toward the end of the book, she wrote a few more interesting notes. She said, most female targeted historical web novels these days focus on women and the career, and the romance is just like a side plot. A cute guy came along while she is seriously doing her work, right? She wanted the story to be a little different. She wanted to write this because she wanted to try writing something that focuses on emotions. And so a lot of the things that happens in this novel actually is more emotionally driven than anything else. And I think that makes this a little bit special. And another note is that this is probably the most idealistic historical novel she has written, because it's full of people with like hot-blooded righteousness, faithfulness, loyalty, and friendship. And you have obviously there's no bad guys, right, who don't have those qualities, but majority of the characters have some of those qualities.
Yeah.
They actually like inside they're good people, but they're not, they take the right action.
It is certainly interesting to see that, like, even the mom, as hard as it is to watch her, or her scholar love interest, even though they're not perfect, they're all still good people. It's interesting to see. Like, the mom has the best intentions with her kid. It's just she knows where she failed and she overcorrects.
Maybe. Yeah.
For me, it reminded me a lot of Star Wars again, to be very honest, because it was like, they had that group of people who are just like good guys. They're righteous. They're like loyal.
Yeah.
Kind of similar feelings.
I absolutely love how this and Story of Minglan, we get like a lot of the quiet politics that are like microcosm, right? So although there isn't a lot of drama in the family, it's still the stuff that is happening directly around her is affecting the macrocosm, right?
Yeah.
Ling Buya is like a changer of the history of the kingdom, right? Like he's an instrument of change, and by loving her, it feels like it changes his direction. It alters his path eventually. And it's the microcosm of the things around her and what she inspires, and the macrocosm of what's happening in the kingdom. And I love that in both Story of Minglan and this. It's like the microcosm affects the macrocosm affects the microcosm, and it creates just a really satisfying flow to the epicness of the story.
Yeah. I see. Well, there's a bit different in Minglan.
Oh, no, I know. There's it ends up being that she ends up being like the ultimate internal defender, and he's like the attacker in the end. Gu and Minglan end up being like just this very balanced force when they work together, and that's like shown throughout the show. I don't know how this goes, this show, because we're only like a quarter of the way through it.
Spoilers, no,
I don't know, right? So,
I know,
but I can see at least that structurally they're setting it up that the internal focus around her eventually affects the external, and the external affects her. It's just interesting.
Well, and we have the best external influence with the emperor.
Oh my God. The ultimate shipper. The ultimate shipper.
He's all of us.
I don't know. The previews for next week are making me super excited. So what we're going to get.
Yeah. So like, it's actually what I find a little bit interesting too, is that with Minglan and also the show, there is a lot of soft power.
Yeah.
That's coming in.
That femininity and like domestic life is powerful to create stability and growth in the macrocosm.
That's right. Yeah. Like it's, and that to me is a little bit different than a lot of other, I would say, like historical novels these days, for especially in China. Because a lot of times they're showing the female definitely taking a lot more active part, fighting and changing the world, becoming the empress, blah blah blah. But this one is not. She never becomes the empress, right? That's not her role, and she never fights because that's not really her big role either. She can take a sword, but she's never going to be as good at fighting as Ling Bui. Right? So, and I think
she's a builder. That's what I love. Yeah. She's a builder, and so she builds. She builds and she protects in the ways that she can, and she heals. Right. That's also like a really interesting sort of metaphor for their relationship.
Ladies, we have another Ray here.
Yeah.
15 years alone.
Yeah.
Builder and healer.
She scavenges things and then recreates them into new things. Yeah. Yeah. No, I see it. I see our Kylo Ren and Rey.
I do think though that with Ling Bui, it's actually like he has almost like it's more understandable why he acts a certain way.
Yeah.
Than Kylo. It's very clear why.
Well, he's focused in one task.
That's right.
Well, and also, but like he experienced like a betrayal very similar to Kylo, but like he didn't leave society. He didn't go off and join the bad guys. He stayed and has this darkness, like a seed within him that he hasn't dealt with. It's the shadow that he's carrying around with him. To like the shots that you've talked about, Kit, like it's there. It's like shrouding him.
No, the thing is that if you check some of the scenes, he has this cape, black cape with red inside because he's wounded, but not because of the love one. Yeah, that is the arrow. And that is the red string. We will talk about that red string. But when he sews this cape with the inside in red, is this kind of he's bleeding inside.
That's good.
And you can and the cape that the emperor gives him another cape in episode 1, I think.
And he just puts it over top of it.
Yeah. Over top of it. But the thing is that the I don't know, is kind of decoration or something, and a needlework or something. I'm not sure.
It's embroidered.
It's like, yeah, it's like veins.
Ah, cool.
Oh, true, yeah.
Check that thing. I was checking this morning, and I was like, "Oh my god, that cape!"
It's gonna be. I'm gonna enjoy rewatching it end to end once it's all out,
full
and just
of details.
Seeing all of the details and everything. We talked
just like in F4. There's gonna be a lot of very interesting costume choices in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and S, it's gonna follow his internal state a lot, and I think it'll be a very interesting thing to kind of watch out for.
Yeah.
I'm excited to come back and talk about this as we get more episodes with both of you, just in general, because, this has been great. But let's talk about what the show has done so far. Again, we're only about a quarter of the way through-ish, maybe. We don't know how many episodes this is going to be, but we're only about that far. We already talked about how we get the male lead's gaze, but it's all like emotion-driven. It's not objectifying the female lead. It's sort of it says more about the male lead than it does about the female lead, if that makes sense. And I wanted to also talk about what other things that you have seen that make this drama really sing, because this drama feels different. I did feel like when I started watching it, I was like, oh, this feels like Story of Minglan just in general, but it feels special, like different, like just there's something in the sort of magic of how it's all pulling together. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I actually do think that it feels different than Story of Minglan now that I've been watching it more. And it was sort of the vibes of the author and the feel of the author I think I was seeing when I looked it up. But what are some things that you're seeing, Ori, that really make you happy?
I love the anti-tropes, just the way that the author have set up characters that are kind of opposite to what you often see in similar C-dramas. And I'll give a few examples, right? One would be the cousin. Like, Shang-san's cousin is actually just a nice person. She is not someone who's just faking it, faking being nice. She's actually just nice. And that actually doesn't happen a lot.
And they get along.
They get along, yeah. Like a lot of times when you get step-sister sort of characters, they're like,
conniving or mean or, yeah.
Yeah, they're just mean, right? But this is not the case here. The other one, obviously, the emperor. He's not,
King
the
Shipper.
cold-hearted emperor here. This is like a warm-hearted emperor who just really, 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 really want his adoptive son, so-called adoptive. It's a slightly different relationship of adoption, and if you look at the Chinese word, but basically adoptive parents. Like he just really loves him, and he just really, really, really wants him to be happy, and he's not forcing him to marry or anything because he knows that this guy is just going to run away and fight another war, and that would break his own heart. So
and he might die that way, right? To avoid being stuck in a situation that he doesn't want to be in, he would rather die. And so he understands the character, like his adopted son, so well that he's like, I'm not going to force you to do anything, but I will be there cheering you on for happiness. He's like king. He's the emperor of shippers. I ship you in happiness.
I mean, that one scene when he was told by Bui that, oh yeah, like this guy is like starting a rebellion, and the king was like, oh, like, are you sure? Maybe it's all misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And then, so he was like concerned, but not that angry. But the thing that got him angry was the fact that, oh my God, he stole the girl who was supposed to marry the other, the guy who is now engaged to the girl that
he's like hateful, like,
oh my God,
young man. And he's totally willing to do things like give her kind of a what is it, like a reference letter into her new family, effectively. like she is smart and wonderful and beautiful. I refer her, says the emperor. And so that gives her kind of like clout and political power as she enters into this marriage. That was the most recent episode, in that like he's willing to do things for Lingbuya as a Buyi. He's willing to help him even though he really doesn't know what those consequences could be. He just trusts him too.
Yeah, he just trusts the son so much. Yeah. Like, it's beautiful. Another anti-trope, I think it's the mother character for sure. It's a lot of times you see, the blood mother to be the loving and nurturing character, and then, the stepmother, or like found mother kind of character to be much more strict and mean and, unlikable. But
whereas we get the aunt who's like the found mother, who's loving and cares and sees all of the goodness regardless of what else she is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the blood mother is like strict and mean, well-meaning, but like so mean. It's hard to watch sometimes.
But because he's a warrior.
Yeah.
I think war kind of messed her up a bit for sure. Yeah. Like she must have seen some stuff during the 15 years of constant war. She knows mistakes cannot be tolerated because, oh my God, everyone can die because of one dumb mistake.
She reminds me to the female lead in Oh My General.
Ah, yeah. I love that. Yeah. I love that drama so much.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. What she would end up being eventually.
Yeah.
with her children. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see what they do to the mother character, though, in the novel. The female lead never fully forgave the mother. Kind of like they have like a peaceful relationship, I would say, but it's sort of like, Minglan and her dad, kind of a little cold, a little distant.
Yeah.
The damage is done, but I'll do my duty as the daughter and still be able to peacefully eat meals with you if needed, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. They kind of come to like a weird truce where she knows he loves her as much as he possibly can, which is not very much. And she's like, I tolerate you and the responsibility I have in Story of Minglan.
That's right. I think it's somewhat similar here.
I wonder if we will get a resolution between, because it feels like that's needed. It feels like there's a mother-daughter split that from a heroine's journey perspective would be required. Some sort of resolution.
Yeah. There is a character that's soon coming up that will also kind of have this motherly role. So just watch out for the Empress that's coming in. Introduced next week.
Cool. Yeah. I love court politics. I don't know. I love court politics. And so being able to see what they're going to do, I have no idea. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this goes and what happens and all of that. I have very, very much enjoyed the Goldilocks sort of things that are happening in the drama, and they do it in multiple ways. So they do it with mothers, right? Like you talked about the good mother versus the mother, birth mother, right? Or the blood mother, and how they reverse those things. But they show examples in twos typically, and I think that they're probably going to continue to do that, where they show examples in twos, and Ling Buyi is like secondary to all of that conversation. So other examples are uncle, good uncle, and dad, right? They show the suitors in the same way, right? So they show kind of the too soft, too hard versions of the suitors, and then still out there is Ling Buye in his like difference. Like he's not any of these things. But to her, they present these things in dual options. Her two brothers,
Actually, probably like threes is probably more accurate terms.
Well,
right?
yeah.
No, I know. But we've only
yeah.
given two at this point in the story. Like we only see things in twos. And we will get a third option eventually.
Yeah.
Because I don't see, like, we do get the third option for her suitors, but I haven't seen a third option for her dads. I haven't seen a third option for her moms, except when, because her aunt returned as soon as her other aunt left. It's like they switch out people to only give two options. And so it's like false binaries. And if you end up getting a third option, it's your third path or your third way. And so if there's going to be a third mom that's coming into the story, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, there is a third mom coming in. And, in a way, I would say the emperor, who is already introduced, it's sort of going to be a father figure as well, right?
Nice.
Like father-in-law is still a father.
Yeah, father-in-law is still a father. Yeah. No, and it's interesting because I was like, there's only been two sets of twos introduced so far, except for suitors, because then there's three. But is there actually a fourth suitor?
No, just three.
There's only three. Okay.
Yeah. So most of the things that's important in her life comes in threes. Like she actually has three brothers, right? As well.
No, she actually has three brothers, but they only show two. Yeah. That's what's really interesting to me, is that they're starting this story out and saying you only have binaries. You think you only have this living a good life with the soft person or living a hard life, right? Yeah. They're presenting it as binaries. This is Star Wars also. So they say you can only be good side or bad side. You can only be light or dark. But really, the truth is you have to navigate that somewhere in the middle. And the third option is going to be the right option for you. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. But you are speaking about these things, and I did some homework because Ori was doing all the stuff, and I did some homework with the names of the characters. And the thing is that the three brothers, the father and the two uncles of the female lead, the names of these guys are, the father is, the translation is start. The second, the first uncle is transition, and the third is stop.
Oh, that's cool.
So maybe we are dealing with, three different things going on all the time.
I didn't mean to say like there isn't threes, because there is. It's just I noticed that they only start in twos, and that's because people get caught up in I can only be one thing or another. It creates false binaries in our view of reality.
Yeah, but the thing is that look how the female lead met in real life, in person, with the three suitors. First, Luo Yao.
Yeah.
Second, Yuan Shen.
Yeah.
And third, Yi.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm not telling it. No more.
Okay.
Spoilers. No,
I'm excited to discuss this after the fact and how it plays out, because I know nothing. I noticed a pattern, and it was really interesting.
That's it.
Yeah. Back to like the anti-tropes. I really agree with you that what ends up doing is creating sort of whole people, and that throughout the course of the story, their experiences and what they go through ends up making them more whole and more interconnected with all of the aspects of themselves. Like, because she's gone through, Xiaosheng has gone through so much pain for the first 15 years of her life, she doesn't trust love.
It's more like she doesn't even understand what it's love, right? It's very similar to, I think, like we earlier said, Ray, right? Like she's never experienced it, so she's just kind of guessing right now what
she loves food too, which is hilarious.
That might be her true love at the moment.
Yeah. Food and being allowed to exist the way that she wants to exist.
Yeah.
Right. Enjoy things. Just, I remember I had a good friend who ended up developing cancer when she was in her teenage years. And what I found was when she actually became an adult, she ended up acting like a teenager because she had to grow up so fast. And once she had kind of gotten past that, she ended up like kind of reverting to very childlike behaviors because she had never had the opportunity to be treated or to be spoiled or to just make decisions because she wanted to make them. Yeah. And it took her a longer time to like get past that than you would say consider somebody else. And I think that that's quite common when you end up dealing with some sort of thing that stilts you as a person. And it feels real, like to what we talked about at the start of the show.
Yes, it's not perfect. Yeah. That's the point.
So what drew you into this show? Well, Ori, you had read the novel, right, before?
No, I actually saw the show first, and then I went and take a look at the novel.
You sped read it.
I did, yeah. So, but I will say that shot of Ling Buyi just covered in blood in the trailer probably the reason why I ended up watching the show initially. And actually, it threw me off a lot for the first 6 episodes because they haven't even met in 6 episodes, right? And so my expectation was crazy dramatic drama, love story, right? That was my expectation going into the show because I didn't do any research other than that before I started watching it. And then I was like, what is this? We did not even see the main characters get together at all in like 6 episodes. And then I took a step back and I read, I researched a little bit more. I'm like, oh, this is the same author as Minglan, so I should like change my perception.
Yeah.
To, like, okay,
it's going to be a slow burn, but also like a slow development. To your point.
Slow burn. It's going to be more female-centric about her life, and the male character just comes in later. You're not going to they're not going to fall in love right away. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh, okay, you know what? This pacing is actually really good and actually makes tons of sense. So I was like, that was when I was like, okay, this is the show for me.
Yeah, but it happens the same in Minglan.
Yeah.
You never think that Gu.
No, Gu is, okay, so quite literally, the first time I watched it, I thought she ended up with the Duke's son, like starting out, because I was like, I missed something. Like I misunderstood that Gu was the kid that rescued her.
Me too.
I thought it was the Duke's son based on how they like played it when they got grown up, or when they came back to the capital or whatever, and then they were in school. And I was like, as soon as I realized it was Gu, I had to go and rewatch the beginning and be like, reset myself to being that, oh, this is what they've been saying this whole time. I'm just an idiot.
No, we are.
I literally was so heartbroken when that relationship fell apart, because I was like, this is the thing, isn't it? This is what it's supposed to be. And I was like, oh, this is not what I thought. And I think that's why I fell in love with Story of Minglan, because I was like, they do such a good job of making you see, he is the too good husband or whatever. Like he is too good to be true. He cannot possibly be this good, right? He has complications associated with him. And it's something I've become more and more obsessed with, because in alchemical marriage, often you fall in love with the thing that is not meant for you first. And sometimes it's something dark and that falls in love with you and wants to capture you. And sometimes it's something that is too good to be true. And that is what I've become obsessed with, which is, you don't need necessarily something that will treat you as precious and almost like a Petrarchan poetry and put you up on a pedestal. What you need is a partner who complements you and you bring the best out of, and they bring the best out of you. And I loved that we get that with Gu in Story of Minglan, and also that Ling Bui respects and loves her messiness and her way of thinking. I love this one moment. I took screenshots of it because I've now taken screenshots of his face whenever he makes any of those faces. But like she like gives him like the hint to go and check out the fabric shop, right? Still haven't met. He's seen her hand. This is where we're at. And he realizes that she put it all together very quickly and was giving him enough information that he could find it on his own, but wouldn't actually like compromise her anymore, and gave him everything he needed and understood the whole thing. And he's like, that's interesting. And then we get this smile and the look in his eyes, like she's not just like saving her family. She's also smart enough to save her family and also still help him. And she's helping him in a way that completely makes it optional if he would ever want to help, like give it back to her. Right. Like it was just magical in so many ways and so subtle. That he's like, I appreciate her brain. She has the sexiest brain in existence. Oh my God. And
check that scene again, okay? And check his collar.
Oh.
Wearing red.
He's wearing red?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. My God. Every time
I'm gonna have to rewatch it, Kit. Yeah. Like I have not been looking. Normally I was discovering
a lot of details that I was like, oh my God, this thing.
You were me with F4 because like that's how I was. I was so focused on the costumes with F4.
I have learned from a good master.
The coolest, actually most interesting thing for me as someone who have read the novel is that all those setup part initially with her uncle, like her bad uncle, that's all drama only.
Oh, cool.
They actually did not have that at all in the novel. There's actually a few things that's like very different in the novel, right? First is that the character was actually traversing worlds. So
it's a transmigrational story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an isekai if you are familiar with like comics and whatnot, right? Like she was originally a modern university student who woke up one day and found herself in the body of a female lead who had, technically passed away. So that was the reason why she was not really that close to the world. Like she was willing to let go of everything because it's not really her world. But they did the same thing very smartly just by having her grow up all alone with like bad influence and no close relative, no love. And so she also, because of that, have like distanced herself from people, even the people she loved, right? There's still always a little bit of distance between them. She put herself first. She never put anyone else in front of, like, ahead of her. And this change makes so much sense. I was like, oh my God, actually this change make the story better, in my opinion, than the novel. The other thing, of course, is in the novel, Bui just fell in love at first sight. Like he saw her once at the Lantern Festival and like just thought she was, oh my God, the perfect type for me, right? But if you're like watching that, you'll be like, wow, this is such a shallow reason for
Whereas this, he falls in love with like what she does for him and for the country, and then he also falls in love with her brain and her sexy hand.
And also, one thing I want to note too is one of the big reasons why that first scene is important for him is because she sold out her family, and he hates his father a lot, and his stepmother, and there's a lot of,
and the whole family situation. Oh, did you want to talk about his family?
Yeah, we should talk a little bit about the family.
Yeah, because I think like it was confusing for me. I had to rewatch those scenes after you did this tweet thread because
I know it's confusing. That's why I created that little relationship chart. It's a spoiler-free relationship chart. I will update it with a spoiler relationship chart, maybe in part 2. But it is, he has a complicated family, right? Like his mother is crazy. His mother has fallen crazy. She is no longer married to his dad, who had remarried his own cousin, who had like basically seduced him while the mom is lost during the war. So Ling Bui, because of that, hated the father. There might be something more, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, but at least in the surface story is that he hated his father for driving his mother insane. And he really, like, his true father figure is the emperor. The emperor is his real father. That's the one who he really cares about. And it definitely, if you think of it that way, the fact that he hated his father so much, and if he could, he would, punish him for what he did, right? He respects people who are willing to put justice ahead of family. And so that's why that first scene, that first drama only scene that was added, actually is very meaningful.
Yeah, and he's like, you're willing to do what's right over protecting sort of
your family,
this thing. Yeah, I think that he'll come back around because she becomes his family. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I really want to talk about the Red String of Fate.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Yeah.
Kit, what's your favorite?
Oh,
It's the arrow scene. It's the arrow scene.
No. Oh my God. The arrow scene is just the top of the cake of the thing.
Yeah. All right.
The cherry on the top. But I was trying to find which episode is the first time we see the actual string. But I think it's after 6.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Okay. But it's when he is spying Prince Xiao.
Yeah.
With the fiancé of Lu Yao.
Yeah. During the Lantern Festival?
No.
After. Oh, it's before that.
Way after.
Okay.
He knows that Prince Xiao is obsessed with the fiancé of Luo Yao.
Yeah.
I think it's He. The name of the family
is He.
He?
Yeah, He. Yeah.
Okay, and they are in this kind of party that after that the female lead hits the other girl and all that. Well, all this drama. But he's at the top of another tower or pavilion or something, checking what is going on with Prince Xiao and lady. And suddenly, I think Miao Miao is with this other guy, the Yuan Sen. He's pestering her.
Yeah.
And he's checking Xiao and the girl, Xiao and the girl, Xiao and the girl. And I realized, wait, what is that kind of red thing? And he's wearing on the top of his belt a red string.
It's like a red string, yeah. And then he brings
Why?
He brings into the when she's in trouble because she's like started the fight after the tripping scene. He brings in the rope and it has this like red tie on the horse tripping rope. And then from that point on, they're like everywhere. It's like,
but it was before.
No. I
realized that the red thing, it was before.
Yeah.
The first time we see red and something relating with the female lead is when he receives this kind of package with,
because it's filled with cloth.
Fabric and all that. And he has red around his collar.
Oh.
And the thing is that when he saves her during the firing restaurant thing, she is wearing red.
I wanted to talk about it, but there's a Death in the Maiden ongoing vibe to the story, right? Because he's like a war god of death type vibe. Yes. And she is full on maiden. And so she is wearing basically like faux bridal clothes when he rescues her from the fire. And they end up like at one point her mom just offhandedly says, I would rather marry you into hell than let you go off on your own. And it's very Death in the Maiden, like you don't realize you are going to be married to a god of death vibe. Cool.
Literally. Yeah.
And he bridal carries her at that moment.
Yeah, that too. And the flames and all that.
And the flames, like you are married spiritually.
I might have giggled a little bit when that scene first came on because it was just a little over the top, but it was great.
Subtlety is for the weak.
And I was just like, this is hilarious.
So manly.
Yeah, and then he's like, I can't stay.
Oh yes, stay here.
He just laughed like he didn't even like talk to her. Just like, stay here. Just turn around like, this is great.
And just after that, they have this party and all that, and suddenly red string.
Yeah, everywhere.
Like, okay.
Yeah, they're married. They're married.
You're done. Done.
They married. Yeah. So
and after that, the arrow. The arrow.
And the arrow scene, of course, is and then he keeps the like it's a zither string too, which is interesting because that's like
it's her name.
Yes.
Yeah, Xiaoshan string is actually kind of often used as the 7th string in the like old instruments. And so actually we saw Xiaoshan string, I think the episode before in episode 11, when the third suitor
breaks the
was playing the instrument and broke the seventh string, which of course is Xiaoshan string, and it's like kind of a foreshadow of what happens.
Yeah, but he doesn't bleed.
He does not bleed, no. And the next episode was where you saw, Xiaoshan's string again, and it was soaked in blood, and it's definitely a red string, and he's keeping it for many reasons.
The tonal sound of this string is re.
Yeah.
Is it?
Re.
Oh.
Because her twin brother is do. The sound is do. The twin brother has another string name.
Solfege. That's what it is. It's do and re in solfege, which is like if you've seen The Sound of Music, you've heard the solfege, which is that you can use. This is a way to use notes. It's called solfege.
Oh no.
Yeah, but it's like do mi re fa sol la ti do.
Mm-hmm.
That's solfege. That's the name for it.
Okay.
And you're saying do comes before re because he was born first.
He is born. Yeah.
He is born first.
He is do.
Yeah, he is do, and she's re.
She's re.
Yeah. I don't know much else.
Another ray.
That's so cool. But I love that it's a stronger than normal string, which there's a lot of symbolism in her being the string. And
but his question. Okay, is this strong enough?
Is this string strong enough to take this arrow?
To deal with this bound that I have.
Yeah.
This secret bound that he carries.
Yeah.
Are you strong enough to, go with me with this, journey of pain and all that? Oh my God. This is cool.
The coolest thing though is that this is actually not a drama only tidbit. The string in the book was not a Xiaoshan string. Like he actually later on in the book, he just randomly found one and like wore it to remind himself of her. But
this is better.
This is way better. This is like way better. It's like the author has done, like you do a second draft and like you make your story better.
Yeah.
Like you suddenly have new ideas that just like connect all the stories together. This is the same thing. Like the author is just given a second chance to write her novel right now.
And so it's iterated and improved and also ties the foreshadowing earlier on.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, good.
So smart.
So I think we should come back and talk maybe during part 2 and then maybe after it's done.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that are
we'll know more about like the symbolism as it develops as we see more.
Yeah, and check again everything because you will discover a lot of things.
Your eyes are on it.
Yeah.
I'm a very visual person.
Is there anything else on your mind?
Puppy eyes.
The puppy eyes. I have done a very long thread on puppy eyes. I call it his dumbass look, so that's just I can't get over how consistent the look is, even when he's mad.
Yeah, but that face starts with the eyes.
Yeah, it starts with the eyes.
You said that. Yeah.
It starts with the eyes and then changes depending on what else is going on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, and one thing, these two assistants.
Oh, his friends who function.
Amazing.
Yeah, they function as his internal monologue between the two disparate parts of himself. So they like the one is always like, oh, the carriage, right? And then the other one's like, no duty.
No. Funny thing. Check again. Hercules, the Disney movie.
Oh, the two little
Hades has these two kind of minions. One is
minions,
fat, and the other one is so thin, and they are the same vibe than these.
It's also like weirdly like C-3PO and R2-D2.
That too.
Or like in Hidden Fortress, the chubby peasant and the thinner peasant who give us the internal monologues of like and behind the scenes and like audience commentary.
It's like this Greek chorus going on behind the main character.
He needs way more like things spoken for him because his character isn't allowed to speak his thoughts very often, except when he's alone with her. That's also very hot. He only truthfully says his thoughts when he like, are you sure you want to marry this guy? Are you like he only actually says his mind when he's with her. Everybody else he doesn't.
And the only way the emperor knows what is going on
is by the two. The two. his men.
Although you have to give the emperor a bit of like some credit, because I feel like he did put together things pretty quick himself as well.
Oh, that too, obviously. But the thing is that they did the same with Ming Lang. I love Situ with Gu.
Oh, yeah. With the maid and him, right?
Yeah. And Situ is always behind and saying things sometimes that Gu is like, hey. But here they split C2 in two different characters, and I think it's perfect.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable just to watch those two, the Emperor, Bui, like just exist.
Oh,
all of those scenes are just so much fun to watch. The
other thing that's really fun too is like when you have those, you watch how Bui actually interacts with those two and the people around him, and then he would say one thing, and then the way he treats the girl is like often contradicting what he said just like moments before.
Yeah.
Like there was one line specifically he told the guy he captured, I think the uncle, is like, I hate liars.
And he's a big liar.
He's always lying, but he's like smiling whenever he hears her lie, especially when she lied about him liking her, and he's like, oh, that's not a lie. Like inside his head, that's totally true. I do like you. You just don't care about me.
Everything you have said is the truth. I like you, and you don't like me. This is all true. I'm good with this.
I'm good. Like this is like he like just makes so many excuses for her in his head, and he like thought about that line so often. He said it twice. I was just like, oh,
yes,
come on.
Yes,
so
that's
great.
true. Yeah.
Another moment I absolutely love is when all of the suitors are out and about, and then they start getting rained on, and he calls his carriage to take her back, like in the lap of luxury, and forces the guys and himself to get rained on so hard. And then they have like the suitor like dinner after, where
that dinner, oh my God.
All three of them are there, plus the uncle who has experienced sort of love lost, right? And is pining and grieving and like sad about this lost love. And they have like kind of the answers to the questions of like, what would you do if you were in the uncle's situation, even though it's not the uncle, it's like some other guy, not me. And it's like would you, and I the reflections of the aunt's choice is the conversation of the difference between these suitors, and where I assume it's foreshadowing. I have no idea, but we have the orphan versus the fiance conversation, which is, would you save if your fiance and an orphan were thrown into a river, who would you save first?
There's only one correct answer. Let's just say that if any guys listen, only one answer.
It just shows how, and he looks at her the whole time he is answering, i.e. saying, you are the only thing that exists in this universe. And this is, to me, like as we're all Star Wars fans here, Like, you think about Anakin, like, he's legitimately Anakin Skywalker. He would literally burn down the galaxy for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But see, I think though that he would only, I think the difference between him and Anakin is that he does a lot of things like for her. So he would never make things hard for her as long as this doesn't like impact his revenge, I would say, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
but he would
different.
No, you're right. He would give her up though.
He's willing
to.
He would
be willing to give her up. Which is also like the main difference. They're both super intense, and what is it like that you were talking about, Ori? You said he's like, there's a word you used when you were talking about the novel and how tough it would be for some people to see the character.
Oh, I was calling him a little unhinged.
Unhinged.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I like to use the word unhinged because I think he's not crazy, right?
No.
But when it comes to her, he's a little unhinged.
So he's unhinged, but he is not greedy of her.
No.
That is the one difference. They're both friggin' unhinged, but he would let her go if he knew she would be okay and happy and everything.
Yeah, like especially when he knows he can't provide the same happiness at that moment, right? Like I think after, like in part 2, when things are more settled, I guess, for him, then a little different. But right now,
yeah, he's dealing with a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
he is. Yeah, and he's like willing to. He realizes that himself. He's like self-reflective, and he actually say, okay, you know what? She wants a peaceful life, and this guy's gonna give her a peaceful life. So I'll just help this guy out and help her out, and hopefully she can have what she wants.
Yeah, and that's like really important to call out, is that he understands he has to do some he's got to go to therapy. He's got to work out some of his like shadows and garbage that he's carrying around. Like
heal that bone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or at least like face it finally.
Yeah.
And understand what it means, and that it couldn't have been his life. You can't live in ashes as a way. Like you can't live with revenge.
There are some people when reading the original novel that was really pissed at him because, Xiaoshan in the novel actually met him even less, right? Like, and you don't have any of those extra scenes to kind of explain his character and his motives. So people didn't really like him initially, and also didn't really feel like there was a connection, and they're like angry that he was like putting a foot in, like stealing her. But he's actually some people, what I realized after reading a little bit more and understanding his characters, that it's not, yes, there is a logical side to him, and he does try to listen to logic. But again, this is a novel about emotions. And sometimes when you have strong emotions, it overrides logic, right? So he knows in his head that I should let her go.
But he's unable to eventually, as well as...
Yeah, and when it comes down to, I thought I lost her forever, but now maybe I have a chance. He's like, he couldn't. He just couldn't help himself. And I think that's like a very human thing to do. It's not like he's trying to be a bad person or anything. It's just, he just got emotion, right?
Yeah.
And he's human, and he couldn't always be selfless.
And that's important. It's like because none of us can be, right? We can't always be selfless. We can't always try to help others. We can't always try to be the best versions of ourselves. We're not always able to be. Ori, as we look ahead to the part 2, is there something that we should be paying attention to? I don't want to spoil too much, right? We already know the author has said this will be a happy ending. We already know who the main lead is.
That's right.
I mean, it's pretty obvious with how they're doing the plot of...
It's a lot, yeah. When you do drama, you have to do it slightly differently, right? Because like you're gonna get the most famous actor as the main character.
And he's dubbed the main lead on my drama list. You know, all that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think first, if you want kind of little hints of where the story will end in part one, take a look at the opening. There's tons of clues there in the opening, like the episode opening.
Oh, like the actual
animation.
like the animation, yeah.
The little animation. It's pretty much all there. Exactly what will happen.
They always do that.
No, but it's this one is smarter though, I think.
Try to not check the openings in C-dramas because they always do that. This is a ton of spoilers right there.
They show the climax of the show.
It's a little different with this one though. I think they are not just showing scenes, right? They are just showing like little cute animation, like paper animation kind of thing. And unless you really know, like you read the book, you might not know how they connect to each other. But if you have read the book, actually a lot of those scenes, you're like, oh, okay, that's great. But yeah, you can get some clues there, right? You will probably not be seeing that bloody revenge scene in this season. Okay?
Oh, interesting.
This is something that will happen in season 2. No revenge in the season based on the opening, okay? And actually it's the same with the book pacing because it actually happens pretty deep into
You mentioned
novel.
that there's a time jump that happens at one point.
Yeah.
Do you think that we'll get the time jump in part 1? Okay.
No, absolutely not. It's not going to happen in part 1. Especially if they want to, if they could always do it if they change a lot of stuff. But I feel like because the author is involved, there is certain things that's in her head that she wants to convey before it happens. And the time jump wouldn't be meaningful if the development isn't far enough. I would say that. You can't hurt someone if they. I think it was the third suitor, right? When he was talking about, he was doing the lesson, and he was like, "I'll tell you a story, about marriage," and that's actually like a really big foreshadowing, right? Like not just with the, what happened with the ex-fiance, right? But I think it's also important for part 3. Like just keep that in mind, right? Like the person who hurts you the most, it's never someone who like you don't care about. It's someone you really care about, right? So the revenge, you can kind of expect it to be, pretty far into the story. And when you do time jump here, don't expect like very detailed time jump, like, oh, we're going to go through 20 episodes, what happens during the time jump. It's going to be quick.
If it's like Story of Minglan, they just literally show them growing up over the course of like a scene and just kind of skipping ahead.
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of like that. And the time, unlike in Minglan where, the time jump happens and then after that,
the main plot,
there's still story, lots of plots. It's not really the case here because majority of the story actually happens before the time jump.
That's good to know.
So set expectation that way because I think some people may be like, oh, it's so rushed, but that's actually what the author intended because I think a lot of lessons that I learned already happened before, and then there's more that happens that needs to be learned after, but it's not main part of the story, I think. It's important. It has to happen, I think. And I think it's part of that when you have that dark character, dark hero character who like, just from the trailer is going to do something. You need a period of time for redemption. It can't just happen like 2 days later, everyone forgive him, right? So I think that's the main reason for that time jump here. So kind of set the expectations that way, right?
And then
it's going to be very fast. Like I think the pacing will be a lot faster than season 1. That's the other one that I would say, because the first half of the book is more kind of lead up to the second half. And Chinese drama a lot of times do rush the ending, but I have faith a little bit because I think that is kind of the same pacing you're seeing in the original story. So it's not really that they're trying to rush it. It's just because they did so much setup, they're able to like get through a lot of stuff much faster in the second half. There is no setup in the second half. They don't need to introduce characters. It's just going to be like bam, 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 bam.
That'd be exciting. Is there anything like symbolic or anything that you want to, I don't know, call attention to that will be important for part 2 that you're seeing?
I think that's too early to tell right now because, honestly, it's an adoption, like I said, I don't know how far they're going to change some of the scenes because some of the stuff will probably have to change, right? So,
is there anything you're worried about?
We will never know
that they might have to for sure change.
Oh well, okay. So Lucy, the actress, and and Leo, they actually had a little live stream the other day, and they mentioned that most of the big scenes are all filmed. So at least in terms of filming, they're all in there. So my worry is always about the post-editing. I don't know. Sometimes the C-drama, lots of stuff can get cut out. Like a whole section get cut out if it doesn't pass censorship. So my biggest worry is like that they cut out some important parts because they can't show it. And then suddenly things don't make sense anymore. Even though originally they would have made sense. And then the other thing I'm concerned about is just, whether or not they have enough time to edit everything because they thought this was supposed to
be like fall, winter
later. Like it was supposed to be shown later, right? And now it's got pushed up. So they didn't even have time to do like OST because they usually with Chinese drama there's a few songs that they have famous singers sing, and then they have those shown in like the important moments because they didn't have time to do OST so far. If in season 1 anyway, you don't have any of that.
That's
none
true.
of the important songs is like shown throughout the series. It's not a bad thing. I think so far it worked out really well still, but it's just you can see how rushed they are from that.
We don't need songs. We don't need songs.
I just want them to keep the quality, right? Like I am a little bit worried. I did notice in the episode 18 where there were a little bit of like missync between the audio and the video. And I was like, oh, is it like they're running out of time? Like what's happening? Like they just didn't sleep for 4 weeks and they're starting to make mistakes. So I'm a little worried about that, but I have faith in the team. So hopefully it's going to turn out good.
Edit like the wind, creative team. Any final thoughts? I would love to have both of you back to talk sometime during part 2, and then at the end, I think it would be really great to kind of see where we're at, do a check-in.
Oh,
yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah,
watch it. My final thought is watch it again, watch it a third time. I think you'll find out a lot of stuff just by rewatching it.
Check the details. All the details.
There's lots of details in this show.
It's very satisfying.
They're smart about it. They're very smart.
All right.
And his face.
Just check out my thread of his face. It's so dumb.
It's super funny. I love that thread.
And it's so subtle too. So it's just like he's done very, very little with his face, but it says the world. Anyways, so where can people find you and what you're doing? Or if they want to check out your threads, Ori, where can they find those?
They can find them on Twitter. My handle is at ArcNLumi. You might have to spell that out. I guess it's ARCNLUMI. And I have basically a thread where I translated bits of the novel, and that gets updated kind of daily with like a couple of clips here and there. And also I have another thread that gives you the family relationship of Lingui because it's confusing.
Yeah, both are amazing.
Kit, where can people find you?
Well, I'm on Twitter. I'm Kitsune Monogatari and at Kitsune Hatagoya, but that is too long and too difficult to spell.
I'll link to these both in the liner notes.
Yeah, thank you. Well, now I'm a podcaster, but only in Spanish. Historias de una izakaya. Yeah, we did an episode about Minglang and Yansi Palace and the sword and the brocade.
Oh, nice.
But it's not on air right now.
You're editing in progress.
It's coming. Yeah, editing in progress. But yeah, we spoke about these things and Taiwanese dramas and all that. So
awesome.
But it's not only about dramas, but yeah, sometimes we talk about this kind of things.
And Kit is amazing because we talk about art history and the influence of the visuals inside of dramas all the time on Twitter, and I absolutely appreciate.
I'm obsessed with this kind of things.
and you were so helpful with F4 Thailand and digging through the comics when we were covering that, Ty and I. And
hey, I discovered the honey badger.
Oh, yes, you did.
I sent you the tweet like, oh my god, MC, it's a honey badger.
Yes, and I was like, oh my god, yes.
And the dragon mom,
the dragon mom.
Oh my god, that day was super crazy.
That was a fandom at a different level. Like it's very Raylo was like slow burn because it was like for a long period of time, but F4 Thailand was just a different experience for me. It was fun. So come join us in Love Like the Galaxy. We're having fun. You can continue to see my dumb thread of his facial expressions. And we look to have you back when we talk more about the show, because I'm sure we will. Cheers.
Yay.
Yeah, absolutely.